Oh, no shot.
Just a little more. No! We are finally ready to fully explore the hardware of the Steam Deck. That includes thermals, battery life, and even performance.
Guys, this is exactly the way that I thought it was gonna look, and I like it, but it looks a little tacky. But who cares about how it looks, though? It's what it runs and how good it is.
An assortment of Valve-approved titles that range from,
it's a little tacky,
this is a great experience, to, I am really surprised they wanted us to talk about this. I could not be more excited. The seeds of the Steam Deck were planted over a decade ago with the announcement of Steam Big Picture Mode. I love that this page is still up, by the way, you guys. And with all the innovations packed into it, whether you realize it yet or not, you are looking at what is arguably the most innovative gaming PC in 20 years. More, maybe. Now, a lot of the secret sauce is software, but given its current rough edges, we're not going to be showing that until Valve lifts a separate embargo. But there is still a lot to jump into here. Starting with this message from our sponsor, Project Kill Switch. Very punny name, dbrand, by the way. But there's nothing punny about dbrand's upcoming case for the Steam Deck. It kind of looks like their grip phone cases and their horrible attitude had a baby, and then gave it a cheesy name. You can check
Guys, you know what this looks like, chat? Guys, this looks like, chat, that the one kid that would go around with like translucent pink or blue fucking handle for the Game Boy Advance or SP. Look like the bunk. Look like he's wearing a fucking Mad Cat controller or some shit, dude.
Horrible attitude.
Like some Game Shark fucking transformer.
Gave it a cheesy name. You can check out the teaser page at the link down below.
Okay, though.
While I can assume that most of you have watched our preview Steam Deck coverage leading up till now, I can't assume that you remember all the details. So let's blitz through the basics. 3 configs with identical key specs, varying storage, and aggressive console-like prices that Valve CEO Gabe Newell described as painful.
Wait, that is so cheap. $400 on about $650. That's really good.
Storage and aggressive console-like prices that Valve CEO Gabe Newell described as painful to hit.
Yeah, that is cheap. What the fuck is on to you? Do you know what kind of hardware there's in there to run all that?
You guys, hello, man. Twitch streamer.
Yeah, people that talk about tech are so out of touch. You guys say, oh, because you're a millionaire. You guys are so out of touch. You guys think I'm out of touch. You're out of touch.
The highlights.
You're out of touch. You know the type of shit that's in there, man? What it runs, what it can do. Guys, this is like 16 times better than the Switch, motherfucker. Literally, it's better in every possible way you could imagine. And it's, what is it? Way more storage. It's barely
prices that Valve CEO Gabe Newell described as painful to hit. The highlights are the custom AMD SoC featuring 4 Zen 2 processing cores and RDNA 2 graphics, mobile DDR.
People still argue that consoles are too expensive when they're sold at a fucking loss. They literally lose money selling the fucking consoles. They make the money back through licensing and shit, motherfucker. What is wrong with you?
And what essentially amounts to an integrated Steam controller, giving gamers a whopping 5 Z inputs per side, including the joystick clicks and remappable rear paddles that are, in my opinion, perfectly tuned to be easy to press, but nearly impossible to accidentally mash. In games, you're gonna have the choice between analog sticks, a D-pad, a haptically enhanced dual touchpad thing, and even onboard gyro controls that by default are activated by placing a finger on the capacitive surface of the right joystick. It is an impressive arsenal of input options that promises to make everything from shooters to mouse-dependent games like Civ enjoyable with a little bit of kajiggering. Of course, promises mean nothing if the hardware doesn't live up to the hype, and I want to start with the controller.
I know it's optional, dude,
Since my rushed hands-on and my initial unboxing on Short Circuit, I have logged hours of gaming time on the Steam Deck, and while I can reach every button comfortably from a neutral, relaxed position, I do find a number of them a little awkward to use. And I don't really know how to describe this other than to say it's kind of like spooning someone taller than you. Cuddling is fine, but don't try and do anything too ambitious or you might strain a muscle. If you have larger hands, you might not share these concerns, but my wife and I both had similar issues, albeit with different buttons.
So I feel,
for example,
I think you can replicate that feeling and you can relate to that if you've ever used Mad Cats, dude. They always have the same thing where it feels like a controller, the buttons are all at the same place, kind of. Whenever you use them, you feel like you're using different type of muscles in your fingers, and it just feels off.
I struggled to reach the shoulders without shifting my grip a little, and she found the ABXY was a little bit awkward for her. But Jake had no issues at all, so your mileage may vary, and even for myself, I think it's a small price to pay for the unprecedented input flexibility afforded by Valve's design. And did I even mention the touchscreen yet? Did I even mention LTTstore.com yet? Get a water bottle. And it gets even better.
I already bought one.
The feel of the sticks, buttons, triggers, and even the D-pad, which I am very particular about, are all right up there with my favorite console controllers.
Good, that's
the
so
joysticks
important.
in particular are miles ahead of every other handheld that I have touched, with the exception of the Aya Neo Next, and Valve's repair-friendly approach to the joysticks promises a long gaming life for your deck. Of course, a big part of hardware longevity is cooling, and I'm extremely pleased to say that temperatures were well under control in all of our test scenarios.
Good.
The thoughtful design of the deck keeps touch surfaces at or near skin temperature even during an extended gaming session, which is a big advantage over more compact portable gaming PCs like the Aya Neo 2021 Pro and the One X Player Mini. And even though the fan looked kind of wimpy in Valve's official teardown video, get subbed by the way, because our own teardown is coming.
No, there have been some testing on how hard it is against molding. It's actually pretty good. If you for molders that smash.
Steam Deck
managed
looks
to
so
do its
fucking
job
cool,
effectively.
and it is only $500. Only $500, and look what is inside it.
No. He does not know. Left is unaware.
Man, this is the donor of some fucking some spoiled cuddled Andy who got a fucking new brain alien aware for Christmas from his mom. Shut
and
the
without
fuck up,
complaint,
pussy.
even in
Fuck
Control,
are you, man?
a demanding
Shut your
AAA
dumb
game
ass up, man.
on Valve's
Go
approved
put up your
list.
leap pad or some shit.
Even in the most aggressive
this guy?
SoC power profile, which allows it to draw its full 25 watts, we saw both CPU and GPU temps that were well within the range that we'd consider safe, all while remaining at the reasonable noise levels that we recorded in our tests. One oddity we observed though, the Steam Deck ran at its peak clock rate for about 15 minutes, after which it appeared to settle into a ever so slightly lower clock speed, like on the order of 10 to 20 megahertz slower. Now, at this time, we don't have a tool to measure fan RPM, but one theory we came up with, just now, we have not verified this, is that we might have reached Valve's target GPU temperature, and then when the fan ramped up, maybe the system was left with slightly less power budget for the SoC? Hopefully we can dig into this in more depth in our full review, but even if we don't, I'm comfortable saying that it's a non-concern because performance was nearly identical after it settled in.
Okay, makes sense.
Also, this difference was not nearly as significant as what we saw on the Aya Neo 2021 Pro. And that is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to thermal and power management. Valve's promised TDP and clock controls mean that while you...
It makes me think, guys, back in the days, I used to have a Radeon graphics card, and the bearing in the fan was broken, okay? And I had my case open on the ground, and then sometimes it would start to lag. I'm dead ass about this, okay? It would start to lag, and what I did is I pulled my, I'm not kidding, I put my foot up, and I would press my big toe against the fan, right? And the fan would realign itself, and then it would cool itself down to good temperatures, and it would stop lagging, and I had to take the fucking toe off. I'm not kidding.
Just
I'm not
leave
kidding.
the SoC on auto.
I would
for most
actually
people, we'd recommend doing just
physically
that and using
push the bearing on my
FPS
toe.
limits to extend your battery life while offering predictable
There's a
performance.
Radeon.
For the
It'd go
hardcores, you can
Hello,
also
Mr.
expect to be able
Have
to
you played
fine-tune your
Dead
power
Side?
profile
It's
to
like a
optimize for your
dumbed-down open
exact
world
use
stock
case.
of. Would
Want
love
to emulate
see you
PS3
try it.
games and need your
Much
CPU
love,
going hard, for
xQcL.
example? You'll be able to, and I'm really excited to see what the community comes up with here. And the community for this thing, do not kid yourself, is gonna be enormous. Like, I've seen haters out there that are like, this thing is not gonna take off. You are wrong. And now that I can show you these performance numbers,
True,
you're
though.
gonna see just how
Guys, a handheld are kind of the future. I think people got a hand of that whenever we got the Switch.
wrong you were. It's important to keep
The
in
problem
mind
with the
that
Switch, though,
Valve did
lack of flexibility and limitations. That's the problem with the console.
hand
And I think
select
this cuts
each
right to
of the
that.
games for our preview embargo today, but I also
Holy
haven't
fuck.
seen anything
How
to
many
make me believe that
hashtag
their
ads is
goal
Linus
was to
going to
mislead
throw
us
in this
about the deck's
video?
capabilities. So kicking things off, Control is a DirectX game with no native Linux port, but a platinum rating on ProtonDB, meaning that it should run perfectly on Linux out of the box,
TLQT.
and that's exactly what we saw. More than perfect, I'd say, given that the Steam Deck absolutely ran away with the performance crown here. Another
Well, hold on. What are the numbers? Aya Neo Pro One X player.
Perfect, I'd say, given that the Steam Deck absolutely ran away with the performance crown here. Another worth mentioning side note is that on a screen this size, even at the low preset, control looks absolutely amazing. What a time to be alive, right?
Shit,
Continuing
actually,
on, Devil May Cry 5 is arguably an even bigger win for the Steam Deck, which basically never dipped under 70 FPS on medium settings with anti-aliasing enabled. Okay, it's cheapo basic anti-aliasing, but come on! And it looks great. Ghost Runner continues Valve's dominance here, with the Steam Deck putting up a clear win in DirectX 11 and creating a new standard for mobile gaming performance in DirectX 12.
Damn, 30
DeX
FPS for some of these
lows
motherfuckers,
here
man.
managed to nearly outstrip the average frame rates of competing devices powered by Intel Xe graphics and AMD's last-gen Vega architecture GPUs. But it also isn't a completely one-sided fight here. Dead Cells is the first of our... Why did Valve want us to look at this? Games. On the surface, it actually seems like the Steam Deck puts up an
Why, but who cares to run 320 though? Do you even want that?
embarrassing fight here, coming in dead last. But we also observed that even though we unlocked the frame rate, SoC power consumption was quite low in this game. We've got a couple of theories about this, maybe around optimization or Valve doing something.
Chat, if your frames are stable, so they don't go under, which fucks with the frame rate. If you have a measure of like 140, and it runs that average 140, you would never see the difference.
Background to save power rather than push
You
past
just can't.
150 FPS, but we're not sure at this time. And we have no reassuring explanation for this next one. Massive credit to Valve, first and foremost, for getting Forza Horizon 5, a Microsoft game, running at all. But while the in-game benchmark reports industry-leading performance here, the gameplay experience does not hold up. Both Jake and I experienced what I would describe as kind of
lag?
a physics rubber banding effect, where the animation stays smooth, true to the frame rate report, but the experience of playing the game is uneven and jarring.
I do not play a game that I have. Okay, guys, I'll guys, this is the worst type of lag you can ever experience in a game. Fuck all of that, dude.
But the experience of playing the game is uneven and jarring. It kind of reminds me of when a video call gets buffered, and then the speaker's voice goes slow, and then goes fast to catch up, and then slow and fast to catch up.
Stop,
but
dude. I'm not getting
issues
triggered.
with Forza aside, two things are clear. One is that the hardware is damn impressive. I mean, I'm sure that if we had a working Windows GPU driver in time for this preview, the Steam Deck would have peeled away from the competition in Forza as well. And the second is that Valve's software team and the open source community are just S tier. There's no other way to put it. The fact that any of this works at all is a modern technological miracle. There's a lot more to gaming than FPS, however. And honestly, this is where the Steam Deck both shines and loses some of its luster. I mean, it speaks volume about the efficiency of the APU that AMD's custom SoC division put together, that in spite of its mere 40 watt-hour battery, that's almost 20% lower than the competition. The Steam Deck puts up better battery longevity numbers than its competitors. That 8+ hours under light loads is particularly interesting to me as a retro emulation enthusiast. I'm gonna put a lot of hours on this thing. But it's not even the star of the show,
all the
in my
time is
opinion.
really good.
Compared to the One X Player Mini and everything that I've seen from Aya, including the limited edition Next preview unit that they sent me, the screen on the Steam Deck stands out.
No joke though, guys. This might sound kind of nerdy and weird, but I hope they come up with a fucking janky ass battery pack, right? And you could smash that bitch ass on it, dude, and you got like 8-hour fucking battery pack, dude.
As just plain
like
better.
a chunker,
it's not
dude.
shockingly vibrant like the Switch OLED, nor does its 1280 by 800 resolution give it the sharpness of the One X Player Mini, but it's a very complete package. Deep enough blacks that you won't find the glow of black bars distracting, indiscernible input lag and motion blur, and out-of-the-box color performance that isn't gonna win any awards, but didn't look off either until we'd run diagnostic tests in a controlled environment. The best thing about it to me, though, was the excellent, exemplary job that Valve has done of making the display usable under any conditions. The anti-glare coating on the 512 gig version does a fantastic job of minimizing reflections and
guys, we all had a Game Boy Advanced or SP or DS, dude, and whenever in bad lighting, dude, you go like this, you go like that, or you go like this, dude. Oh, dude, I'm actually triggered.
Without having any noticeable, in my experience, effect on sharpness. But I should make it clear that I don't think I would personally spend the extra if I didn't need more storage, since I find myself doing the vast majority of my gaming at night, and regardless of screen finish, the Steam Deck is by far the most comfortable handheld that I own to look at in a dimly lit environment. It just gets so much dimmer than anything else, and details like that really illustrate the care and attention that Valve has poured into this project. Do not underestimate the difficulty of producing a screen that manages acceptable color performance across such a wide range of brightness settings. And believe it or not,
chat, you can change those manually if you're gonna be a pussy about it, dude. You want your eyes to burn in the morning, dude? What is wrong with you? Guys, it's like your phone when it dims with its auto lighting or whatever, it has just better. Dude, what's wrong with you guys, man?
Screen pales in comparison to the speakers. I was able to use Bluetooth or 3.5.
Fucking light mode in the chat, dude. Oh, guys, I'm gonna go right at the. Oh, this is fine.
5mm
this
headphones,
is fine.
no problem.
Oh my
they performed
god,
as
dude.
expected. But the speakers. Man, the other devices that I'm reminded of when gaming on the Steam Deck are the original HTC One and the latest generation M1 MacBook. Like, to be clear, they're still tiny speakers. Valve can't bend the laws of physics, but I was genuinely surprised that a pair of drivers this small could create a soundstage this wide, as I have cars ripping past me in Forza Horizon 5. I mean, I guess given the performance of both the near-field speakers and the microphone array on the Index VR headset, I shouldn't be that surprised. So, Valve, can you hurry up and make a gaming headset already? I promise you, it would immediately obsolete most of the other crap that exists, and you would sell millions. Seriously, I promise. But
guys,
I said it wasn't.
Just like they did it with VR. Literally made
all good, right? I want to talk about
everybody when it came out.
By Valve's own admission, Rumble was an afterthought on the Steam Deck. Compared to the space, power, and cost downsides, they felt that the benefit was too small, and respectfully, I disagree. Even if I hadn't already experienced the tight, responsive linear motors in the Ioneo Pro 2021, I would have immediately noticed the loose, cheap toy feel of the touchpads, both when using them as a mousing surface and when they're providing pseudo-haptic feedback for the rest of the controller.
I don't know much about vibration.
There's just no nice way to put this. At the moment, haptics on this device are a poo stain on an otherwise crisp white sheet.
Your mom does, though.
Valve says they're gonna fix it with software, but we're gonna have to wait for the full review embargo to find out if I need to stop mashing X for doubt over here. Sorry, here's my X button. Though Valve hasn't given me much reason to doubt them yet. They claimed at the hands-on that both the internal SSD and the micro SD card would manage similar load times, and I didn't believe them. But so far it appears as though I was wrong. I still do need to get more detail from them about whether this involved some kind of fancy trickery or if you can actually just copy-paste a game folder off of your other desktop onto the Steam Deck. And I also need to find out what's going to happen as game titles that are optimized for the blazing fast storage of the PS5 and the Xbox Series start to arrive. But for the time being, I can say this. You can expect to slot a terabyte of storage into your Steam Deck with very little compromise to the experience. And what that means is that if you're brave enough to tear down your deck and upgrade it with the latest from Micron, you could rock as much as 3 terabytes of storage in this thing. It's not as much as the 8 terabytes that I have in my Ioneo Next right now, thanks to its support for full...
Say, Brendan, who uses this shit, dude?
Full-size 2280M.2 drives, but that kind of brings up an awkward conversation that we needed to have at some point. I have spent a lot of this video talking about the Steam Deck compared to competing handheld gaming PCs, but the truth is that there aren't any competing handheld gaming PCs. I mean, obviously there are other handheld gaming PCs, we showed them in the video. It's just that they don't compete with the Steam Deck in the same way that a BMW M5 doesn't compete with a Tesla Model 3. Sure, they both have 4 wheels and they get you from point A to point B, and quickly, but those vehicles are built for very different customers and at very different price points. That's the bottom line here. Starting at $400 US, the Steam Deck is less than half the price of anything else we looked at in this video.
Man, now look at the people that said millionaire take, out of touch. Look at these price gaps and these margins. It's not even comparable, dude. Dude, it's a third. a millionaire tamer. Like, you know what? I can't take it. You know what? I can't take this. Let's get a job taken.
Video.
Let's get a
So
fucking
I
job
could
taken, man.
complain that the
What's wrong
tactile
with you?
feel of the Steam and
Shit,
quick access
man.
menu buttons are poo-poo. Or that the width of the deck means that playing in unusual positions, like lying on my side in bed, is a little uncomfortable because my top arm is up and the blood drains out of it. But I'm not going to complain about those things because it is half the price. And even the top spec one has a pretty compelling value proposition with the anti-glare screen and the surprisingly nice included carrying case. And
Guys,
this is
I think this is very disingenuous of him. I think it's dishonest that he didn't compare this to the Soldier console. Everybody knows it's a leader in gaming and the gaming industry, and it needs to be compared.
the real kicker.
And he's not even gonna bring it
Valve
up in the video.
follows through on even half of their game compatibility promises. The Steam Deck is projected to
Sure is.
have more titles available at launch than any other game console in history. So it's time to order a Steam Deck, ladies and gentlemen.
Soldier did it first.
Is what I would say if I was irresponsible. Because the software is still make or break for this puppy, and Valve has some big questions to answer about funky stuff like the game engine rubber banding that we saw in Forza Horizon 5, game compatibility across the Steam library, and things like their auto-resuming gameplay. Let's say your Steam Deck wasn't online the last time you were playing. Are you gonna overwrite a bunch of your progress when you switch to your desktop? We're gonna have a lot to talk about next time when we
Interesting.
get to look at
I mean, he's probably gonna have some sort of cloud bullshit, right? It's probably gonna have the same thing as like some cloud shit. Or oh, but it wouldn't be the same instance of the game. I don't know.
software. And I have a lot to tell you about Project
31
Killswitch.
months
That's right,
ago.
D-Brand made a case for the Steam Deck. I have no idea how they got their hands on one to prototype this thing, but it looks like, kind of like their grip case. It's got this sort of ruggedized, rubberized finish to it. Looks like it's gonna be extremely comfortable, and one of the features I'm really looking forward to is the kickstand in the back, because that is one thing Valve did not include that I think Nintendo made pretty clear is a good feature to have. Having a little kickstand, you can plug in your dongle, get a wireless controller plugged into this thing, and that is going to be a freaking awesome experience on the plane that Valve just doesn't really have an
Chills.
answer to out of the box. So guys, you can
'Cause I actually hope it runs GT so I can play RP on the fly and I can get dongles. Boom, we can hit the vault, dude.
check out the product page on D-Brand's website. We're going to
Chills.
have that link down below. They're bad people
Shit,
that make good
cheese and
products. That's all you
crackers,
really need to know about them.
golly.
JK, love you, D-Brand. And lots of love to Valve for sending this over for the preview. I look forward to
Guys,
covering it.
I
in
didn't think I
more
would watch the whole
depth.
thing. That was actually a good video. I didn't think I would watch the whole thing. And half this shit that he talks about, I really don't give a fuck about it. But when Linus talks about it, I'm
with
interested in
here?
it. Right? Like the colors. Yeah, let's be honest, chat. 98% of his viewer base has no fucking clue what the fuck any of this means or this. Nobody knows. But it's still interesting though.